You can self-heal anything yourself, emotional, mental, and physical. All symptoms, including physical ones, are temporary. They are your body's voice shouting about unprocessed emotions. If you are done with making your symptoms permanent, then come to my website link underneath to find out how I can help you to release and rise. I'm Jenny Luscombe, a facilitator of healing and awakening. I point people towards the truth that we do actually have the power to own our own consciousness after all. I'm just about to do my show, Feeling is Healing, on Holistic Radio on Telegram. This happens every Monday, 5 till 6 p.m, where you can listen live and come and join in and ask questions or listen to the replay. I absolutely love my Holistic Radio family. I love doing my show. It's my passion. It's a beautiful example of win-win energy, therapeutic for me, therapeutic for you. Come and discover, explore, live, laugh, learn, listen, enjoy, and gratitude. Tonight's show on Feeling is Healing is all about how to end suffering.
Hello, this is Jenny Luscombe. This is Feeling is Healing, and it's lovely to be back again. I'm still kind of on that same path, talking about the same thing, but the title changes each week because it isn't one thing. So if you haven't been listening to the show for the last few weeks, what's been happening for me is that I've come to sort of like a change of perception. I think a lot of people are like, I haven't worked out if this is kind of a thing where lots of people are having a similar sort of experience, or whether just because I'm having that experience, I'm attracting that. Do you see what I mean? But yeah, this is all about coming to the end of seeking, like spiritual seeking. And I'm not saying it's bad to ask questions or whatever. Questions are basically the way. Do you know what I mean? But I think up until a point, it depends what you're asking. Because if you keep asking for something outside of you, such as external validation from a person or from a situation. So if you're waiting for your life circumstances to change, then you're kind of powerless. And I think that a lot of us have been doing that for a long time, without really seeing what it is that we're doing. And it isn't wrong to want, desire is how we expand the universe. This is about accessing the internal power to reach the answers. So it seems that a lot of people kind of get to a point on their spiritual path where they're kind of done with following their nose, looking at someone else's information and saying, oh, they've got the answer, the answer is over there. And the answer's always over there. And then you do learn along the way. You learn some amazing stuff. And it does expand you, and you grow and you change, and it affects your decisions and your relationships, like the knowledge that you integrate when you go on these spiritual adventures. But eventually, you do see that old chestnut that actually the answers aren't out there. They're kind of pointing the way, some of them. Some of them are taking you off the path, actually. But anything where you're being pointed back to yourself, I'm a big fan of. So all of the sort of modalities that I practice with my therapies, they're all things that you can learn yourself. That kind of takes a level of commitment and passion and, belief, self-belief. And it's not an easy journey. But ultimately, the best guide that you're ever going to have is your own higher self. And like many of us are kind of in this, what is even my higher self? What is that? And, how can I relate to it? Like, how can I get a dialogue? How can I sit down and have a cup of tea with this higher self? So this is what's been happening to me recently. I've kind of like always known that at some point I would have some sort of shift, but I didn't know what it was going to look like. And I've been following a couple of folks in the kind of non-duality community, but I don't want to call this anything because it's the words and everything, the descriptions, the stories, the concepts. It's all of that stuff that kind of keeps people trapped in a way. So I've been sharing some prompts and questions that can help people see what I mean, and to I found these kind of helpful to maintain the state, to get into the state, but also to maintain it. So it's this experience of what no one really knows the name of. It's a state of consciousness where perception has shifted away from thoughts, away from believing the thoughts, away from seeking more in terms of validation from the external, to a peaceful state where you can just keep practicing coming back to this peaceful state. You might kind of divert off and have a thought and then realize, oh, I've just believed a thought, and then you fell into the same trap, but you see that you're doing it, and then you get back on the path again. So this is no self, but it's part of a whole. So it's weird. You have to go through this kind of through the eye of a needle thing. Like there's this back and forth from your ego self to this self that isn't you. So I had a couple of really weird days. Like, I don't know how you guys have all been feeling the last couple of days, but yeah, I had, because I've been trying to maintain this new perception because everything's healthier. I can't even begin to tell you. It's the way. But in order to sort of maintain that, I knew that I would be dropping into some battles with my ego. And, when your life falls away and yourself falls away, your ego self, so the self that people call by your name, that I had one day this week where I actually couldn't feel that at all, but it didn't feel good. So the idea is for that losing yourself and then merging with oneness. Like it felt bad to have lost myself, and I was thinking, well, isn't that what I wanted? But then it felt so unpleasant, but it was because I was believing thoughts about it. So I have kind of balanced out, luckily, the last couple of days, but it's a real kind of like identity shift and identity crisis. And, quite a few people describe that sense of, I literally don't know who I am, what I'm doing, what's going on, whether this is good, what's happening, whether it's bad. Like I'm just in some sort of storm. Yeah, so that was happening to me for a couple of days, and I thought, well, this feels like how other people have described that sense of sort of coming out of the matrix, like shifting your perception so that you become nature. Litmus would call it the matrix. So that, yeah, coming out of seeing yourself as a separate self into blending in with the universe, with universal consciousness, and then acting kind of just on intuition and from that place of peace, just knowing what to do or what not to do and not feeling any sense of fear or urgency. It's basically the energy of the clouds moving across the sky, the birds just sitting on the roof, the cat asleep on the sofa, just nature doing its thing. like I think I said last week, my daughter comments on the cat quite often. I wish I could be like her. I wish I could just be, it's okay for me to exist. I don't have to plan. I get all my food and I'm looked after, and someone looks for me if I get lost. Like my cat gets all her needs met. She doesn't need to do anything. Like the window's always open when she wants it. That's what I'm talking about. That, like, just letting everything fall away, the matrix, the rules, the urgencies, the media, the stories, the rubbish, the ridiculousness. Just letting it go and just being. So this is what I've been practicing, and yeah, it's weird to move from life totally perceiving yourself as a separate self to realizing that ultimately doesn't work. It doesn't work. It's unsustainable. So moving from that into an integrated part of something bigger. So some of the prompts that I've been sharing to sort of help people understand what the hell I'm talking about. So people tend to perceive this awareness, this consciousness from a place in their head, like behind your eyes. There's you. There's the place where you think that your thoughts happen. So from there, if you keep asking yourself questions like, where is the I that is afraid, but whatever you're experiencing that is negative, where is the I that has fallen out with my wife, where is the I that's worried about money right now, and then look for that part of you that you call by your name. And ultimately you can't really find it because you keep finding a thought about it. You keep finding a sort of what if, or a concern, or a story, or a limiting belief, or a strong emotion. You keep finding things like that, but you can't ultimately find you, who you refer to as me. You can't find yourself in there. So obviously this is kind of like a skill that you build up like a muscle. So the more that you practice this kind of perception, the more you realize that everything that you're worried about is based on thoughts which aren't necessarily yours and which probably aren't true. And most of your thoughts have probably been infiltrated anyway somehow, either by trauma, limiting belief, entity, parasites, whatever it is. All of it is just a part of life, and none of it is anything to be frightened of, in my opinion. And we've been living with it all our lives. It's just a case now of understanding what to do with that. I think the shadow parasite thing, like, they actually do us a favor. They come and amplify what we need to see. So if we can say, "Oh, thanks, you've just revealed to me something that I needed to deal with. I'm so happy. Thank you so much." And then send them loads of love, and they'll leave actually, because they won't be getting from you what they were feeding on. So there's that, just like learn how to deal with them, or just ask them to leave because they have to. All of that is breaking the laws of the universe, but it's up to us to have sovereignty and to say, back off, like, this is my energy and I didn't invite you. And then call in support from whoever you appreciate out there. And the trauma and the limiting belief, like, there's loads of ways that we can address that. There's millions of ways that we can address that. But ultimately, that's helping your body. That's helping your nervous system. It's helping you release energetically your body from lots of looping patterns and traps. And that does make the whole thing a hell of a lot easier to navigate into the true self-consciousness, because then you've got less resistance. And it's the resistance that is massive. It's the resistance that causes all human suffering, actually. It's not the emotion. It isn't the trauma. It isn't the limiting beliefs. It's the resistance to all of that. It's the avoiding it, denying it, suppressing it, rejecting it, disowning it. So yeah, this consciousness, getting to your true nature malarkey, you can incorporate all of that stuff as well. Like, you can't stop emotions, and why would we want to? Because emotions are information, and they're actually the information that we need. So we just have to be with our emotions and welcome them and be kind to them, because that works. And they don't hang around for long if that's the way that you treat them. Like, just listen to what their messages are and then let them go, and then return back to the peace, that present moment where the past is over and it doesn't matter anymore, and there is just the present. And there isn't a future either, because the future comes from the present, and you have to be in the present in order for the future to appear in the way that you want it to. So yeah, it's hard to sort of explain what I'm on about, really, and I probably sound like a bit of a muppet, but it's right here what I'm pointing at. But it's sometimes hard to see or experience because of what we label our experience. So, like, if you just start with, when you say, I'm Jen, I'm Bob, I'm Sarah, just go within yourself and ask, where is the I that I call Sarah? Where is the I that I call Jen? Where is the I that I call Bob? And you might find yourself in your head somewhere, but it's your thoughts. And you might say, well, that's me, that's me. But we don't know for sure that those thoughts are yours or even generated by you. So I might not be right about this, but I think that we receive thoughts and we think that it's us doing it. We think that it's us generating the thoughts. And I don't think it is. Like, obviously we receive sound and sight and taste and smell from our environment, but we don't identify those as us. We don't smell coffee and then see that as us, generally. So why are we doing that with our thoughts? Like, our thoughts are there, we're receiving these thoughts, and then we think that's who we are. We don't think that we are, the dog running down the street. We don't think that we're the bird flying. But we're in this program of, we're kind of doing all these things with our thoughts, and we've been doing it all our life, and we've never stepped out of what we're actually doing. And it does make you chuckle, once you step outside of it enough times to see what you're really doing. We're identifying with everything that comes through our head. So I think that we're actually sensing our thoughts, and that we have a hell of a lot more control over that than we think we do. And the first step is to stop believing them, because we know that it is our beliefs that create our reality. So by paying attention to our thoughts, we're falling into this trap of creating that. So how to end suffering, we need to stop creating it, but we need to see that we're creating it first. So we know that our thinking has been infiltrated by mind control, matrix shenanigans, energies that are not us. And this thinking piece is the point of vulnerability for humans, especially right now. And it's where we've been getting messed with and distracted. So when we're talking or gossiping, you hear people gossiping, he said this, so I said that, and that, like, when stories keep getting told over and over again, like, not only are they probably becoming more and more untrue, but they're becoming solid reality. When, otherwise a thing that happened might have just melted away, if everybody had just let it go. So when you start to consciously not feed the thinking, generally, you realize that your life experience around you just gets cleaner. I can't really explain it in any other way than that, like cleaner, crisper, kind of calmer. And you start to see that all of your past problems and mistakes and things that have happened have been really kind of whipped up and perpetuated by this warped thinking, this belief in the thinking, just kind of being carried by this wave of thinking. And as I've said a few times, I'm quintuple Gemini in my birth chart, so like 5 times thinking. Oh my God. So yeah, I know this. But yeah, we've been perpetuating everything by warped thinking and a mix of emotion and limiting beliefs, which is all kind of filtering what you're experiencing. And sort of within seconds, you've created something out of nothing in a negative way. Believing a thought about yourself that is negative, it can send you on a spiral. And what if that wasn't even your thought? So it's crackers. Like, all our lives we've been making real things that aren't real. And there's so many different ways, oh my God, that we've been doing this. So I have been finding this process hard this week, but part of that has been because I really feel, I'm so empathic, I feel what humanity is going through. And like, not just me finding it personally hard, like difficult, but realizing how vulnerable humans are, and how vulnerable we are with our thinking, and like how upside down we've got everything, and how susceptible we are to mind control, and how scared we are, which makes us just want someone to tell us what to do. That's what happens when people fall into fear. You just want to be told, which is a really dangerous situation to be in. Yeah, so I've been feeling sad, for the humans, everybody sort of trying to maintain a peaceful consciousness. And yeah, so even though I'm feeling way better today, like, my mind has sort of like thrown me all over the place, because my ego has been like shouting and screaming because of the direction that I'm going in. But it just makes sense, I sort of feel like I have to experience this. So I'm just accepting it. But yeah, there's been some patterns shown to me this week that I gave some attention to, but which I needed to as well. But then that created a lot of kind of physical sensation in the processing of that. And then that kind of took me away from myself a bit. So I felt sidetracked for a couple of days. But yeah, and when I get that sort of like off path feeling and then doubt creeps in, it's sometimes hard to shift. But I always know that I'm going to come back again. So yeah, I've found it helpful to keep coming back to, oh, that's not mine, that's not me. And then just remembering to breathe and reconnecting to my own power, my higher power, nature. I touch trees every day, which is the best habit ever. And I'm still doing the laughter yoga, which is absolutely amazing. It makes such a difference. But yeah, like, we just have to keep choosing our highest version, and we have to keep seeing ourselves as uncorruptible, or is it incorruptible? I like unfuckwithable as well. Yeah, just keep breathing in the light of the divine and like breathe through it. And then, yeah, I've been sort of back in this peaceful state again today. I've been quite productive. I've been creative. I think ultimately, like, I might be making it sound complicated, but what this is leading to is divine creation. It's not creating from, that place of need and want and kind of ego. It's learning to let go of all of that and then create from that space of wholeness and oneness, rather than this very fragmented part that we thought was us. Yeah, God, it's a difficult transition though. So yeah, the back and forths, the moving through the eye of a needle. It's brought up loads of stuff, like lots of sort of yeah buts. But it's so weird when you come out of it again. Yeah, and it flags up, needs and, genuine needs that you can't really heal yourself out of, but yeah, dysfunctional needs as well. And then you get this discrimination between those, which is always good. So it feels like, I don't know, this time right now, humanity are generally at this kind of like bottleneck, kind of tipping point feeling. It's like we've been doing this really incredibly long inhale that just goes on and on and on, and you're just literally fit to burst. It feels like everything is about to exhale. Something's about to break or sort of crack open. And like we've been saying this for so long, and here we still are, like inhaling. It's crazy. So yeah, like I've been back in the zone again today. After feeling lots of feelings and sort of weirded out, I don't know who I am, and confusion and doubt, and yeah, a lot of like just being in reality, like being kind of blown away by looking back at what we've been in and kind of seeing it in a different way, shifting perceptions. But yeah, like properly experiencing the present moment again and how different it is. It's so difficult to explain. And it's so interesting once you step out of the stories that your mind tells you. And then you can kind of like clearly see other people's as well. You can see how other people are perpetuating them and feeding them and growing them and almost nurturing them and protecting them. It's crackers. And those themes that you see around you, it's like often things like complaint or offended, or blame or shoulds, judgment, and it's generally just upset about something outside of you that's affecting your peace. And it kind of seems so obvious. I've kind of been marveling at it, It's so easy for us to grow these kind of like shaming, blaming stories because we were raised on them. And like that, complaining, blaming is what victimization is when you really like whittle it down. So this is stepping out of victimhood, I guess. I hadn't really thought of it that way, but it is. It is. And this time as well, like there's a Gene Key 55 prophecy that is this is what is happening. Like that's all about victimization. And it just like staggers me how everybody's talking about the same thing but perceiving it through a different lens. It's just so beautiful. So like it's just so obvious that once you see how easy it is for us to just grow these negative stories and just perpetuate them and make this big song and dance over them. It's so easy for us to do that. We can't not do it. This is what we're trying to step out of. We're trying to stop believing the thoughts and the drama. So if it's so easy to do all that negative stuff and to create that, then why don't we just flip the script and then retrain our minds to grow the positive ones? Because we can, and even though it feels odd and it takes some practice and commitment, we can. We actually can. Like, we can change everything. And the mind will make it really difficult for you to do that. But if you watch how your mind behaves, you'll see that it kind of goes fishing. It's like looking for evidence that you need to feel something bad, like fear or urgency. So we've actually got the power to retrain it to search on this fishing trip for something beautiful, So a good tip is to talk to your mind in a kind way. And, you could say something like, oh, I noticed that you've been fishing for doom. You've been looking for something negative to frighten me with. And then just say, well, actually, thank you for that, but I'm choosing with my divine sovereign authority to flip the script. And I'm only interested now in my beautiful mind fishing for reasons to feel good and safe and happy and contented. Thank you. So you can just keep practicing that and talk to your mind in a way that makes sense to you and your mind. Yeah, like it just, I sort of run out of words because everything suddenly becomes really clear that it was believing words, it was believing concepts, and sort of allowing this monopoly, sort of outsourcing everything to somebody or something. Someone outside of me knows the answer for me, and they may well do. I'm not saying that other people outside of you can't help, because they really can. And that's what community is all about. But ultimately, the best community in the universe would be one where we're all sourcing ourselves, and that we're all aware of our full potential, and that we're all present enough with ourselves to know what it is that we're here to give. Yeah, that makes sense to me. So what I'm trying to do, and I'm in and out of, and I'm practicing, I'm getting closer to this sense of, I think, what is real. And I've always been really curious about reality. And I know that when you process your emotion, that gets you closer to reality, because then you're projecting less. So we're masters of attending to what isn't real because of all the fakery and the questions and the answers and the truth that seems to be very elusive, and there's lots of different versions of, and the past and all the trappings of that, and then the future and all the trappings of that. So without all of that, when you just stay present, you're just left with the eternal you-ness of experience. And it really helps me to think about, the present moment, the living of life. It is just the birds on the roof. It is just the cloud across the sky, the flow of the river, like the baby laughing, the sound of the bus. It's just these glimpses of true reality, sort of in between having to sort of having to be in the doing. I think it's how we're supposed to be living, and everything out there, everything in the matrix around us is designed to take us away from this. So I think this is where our true potential lies. And it's so satisfying to know that you can just keep practicing getting back there. And it's also satisfying to know that it's only you that can do that. Because then you're already at the end. You've already found the answer. Like you found the potential for the answer to all the questions that you had. Because if you can stay, and like I haven't managed to stay in this, like I think this is a lifelong journey. But once you manage to stay in that energy, in that present moment, and you are learning to maintain that, everything really does change. And I've had glimpses of this. It really is weird. It's a weird thing. It's magical and amazing. Yeah, it's absolutely amazing to me that we all search for decades, thinking it isn't us that knows, we don't have authority. Like ultimately this is about sovereignty. It's about the opposite of victimization. It's stepping into who we are. And something so simple, like why is it so hard? There's so much programming hanging on us not being who we are. It's absolutely unbelievable. And you don't actually see how much there is until you're trying to move away from it. Yeah, and we are creating that. I've had a sense for quite a long time that I'm creating a lot of bother for myself. And I couldn't quite see how. But yeah, I think ultimately it's the thinking, believing the thoughts and thinking that the thoughts are me, thinking the thoughts that I'm thinking them. And it wasn't me. It wasn't me thinking them. I don't know who it was. I think some of it was me, but obviously there were filters as well. So yeah, I hope I haven't rambled too much today, but you can probably hear that I am in the process of everything that I'm talking about. So ultimately, ending suffering, I think it's two things that cause human suffering: resistance to emotion and believing the thoughts. I think if you can just let everything go and then just try to master these two things, I need to stop believing my thoughts and I need to just let all my emotions be there. Because you get closer and closer to reality and your true self doing both of those things. Both of those things help you to get closer to reality, like objective reality, and therefore truth and freedom. So resistance to emotion, like if you are resisting your emotion, see if you can figure out in what way, am I avoiding it, denying it, disowning it, disconnecting from it? And if you're doing those things, why would you be doing that? So that, I'm not judging you, but there are a million reasons why we would resist our emotion, because we think emotions are wrong and bad, because when we were young, nobody attended to us when we were emotional, or it's weak to feel. There's loads of limiting beliefs about emotion, loads. Sometimes it wasn't safe to feel emotion for a lot of people. So yeah, it's we have to move towards that resistance to emotion really gently, because we've got good reason to resist the emotion. So you have to go to the resistance and figure out why you're resisting your emotions. You have to go to that first before the emotion can be processed. So yeah, that's like a massive, great big key in the universe. And the other one is stop believing the thoughts because they're probably not yours. Yeah. Yeah, sorry for all the pausing and yeah, literally thinking and processing in between. But this is quite something, and yeah, everything's changing all the time for me at the moment. I'm still managing to work, although not a huge amount, I'm just as and when. But yeah, it's brilliant. It's brilliant what's happening. It just feels like a lot. Um, but it's kind of, I'm finding like time itself has really changed since I've been managing to be more present. It really changes everything. It changes time. It changes like your experience of time, like what you can kind of how you're managing your day. Because I've just been dropping into activity when I have been, just things that I've needed to get done are just getting done when it feels right to do that. And it's sort of like time expands. So it's almost like the more I'm doing, the more time there is to do more. And then I'm sort of thinking, oh my God. So when I think back to when I was procrastinating, the days seemed endless while I was procrastinating and like worrying about things. But when I'm actually just doing and getting on with it, I'm getting a shed load done. And there's still loads of time left again. It's so bizarre. It's so bizarre. Yeah, everything's like gone sort of quite warpy and odd, but in a good way. In a good way. So I hope what I've been talking about today has helped some of you. Um, and if it hasn't, then no worries. I'm sure that I've entertained you anyway, just by sounding a bit nebulous. Oh, it's good. I'm glad I got to use that word nebulous. It's one of my favourite words, nebulous. So yeah, there's a couple of people here. Does anybody want to join in? Have a chat about anything?
Hiya, Jen.
Hi.
Um, keep doing what you're doing.
I knew you were going to say that.
That's all I can say, really, because the journey, the path, the evolving, it's all you. You know,
Yeah.
it's your, experience to experience. So all I can say to you is keep going. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's really good advice, Andy. Keep going, because I think if people have been finding things hard, which everyone is finding something hard, do you know what I mean? Everything's ridiculous now. Um, you have to sort of like you have to find a way of distracting yourself in a good way because it changes everything. So keeping going is the best advice ever because then you're building up momentum, aren't you?
You are.
Um,
And
it, it's sort of,
the
sorry, go on.
I was going to say the discoveries that you make along the way, or what you will reflect upon further down the path that you get. So you can look back at the older you and say,
Yeah.
oh, look, yeah, I used to be or think that way, or I used to feel that way.
Mm,
And you can see the changes, you can see the steps. But if you've got to a point where you've stopped keeping going, then all you've got to look back on is the same things over and over and over because there's nothing new to look back on.
yeah. 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 It's so odd. It's so odd. But kind of, I don't know. Like I think sometimes when you wake up a bit more, or something happens, or you have a revelation or a realization or whatever it is, a shift.
Pennies
Like
dropping. I like the term when a penny drops, you'll see something, or you'll hear a little phrase, or there'll be a tiny little thing, and the penny will drop in your mind, and it will just be another piece in the puzzle that falls into place.
Yeah, and it kind of just like it seems so obvious, and then you like, when you see yourself before you realize that thing, and then you're like, oh my God. And then you think, how could I not have seen that? But you just couldn't
Yep.
see it because
Yep.
you weren't ready. And
Yeah.
but then you think, well, can other people see that, or could other
Other
people
people have
see?
got are on their path. Some people can see the same thing. Some people have seen much more. Some people have not seen as much as you. So it's wherever you are for you.
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting. I'm just finding like the whole thing interesting in terms of kind of like what I was already doing with emotion, and everything is different for me. It's kind of like a lot to pull apart and understand, but yeah, I'm enjoying this journey, and it is kind of miraculous and
And play with it.
bizarre. Yeah,
To play with these little ideas, these things, these new things. Play around with them, see how they fit, see how they move, see what goes with them and what doesn't, and just play around with them in your mind.
yeah.
May I say a few words, Jen, concerning what you said?
Yeah, of course you can, Kevin.
Okay, I don't agree with everything you say, but true self is I wrote some notes, a couple pages. True self is higher self-awareness of self, okay? As a woman or man thinks he or she is, or you know what I mean, trauma denial within creates resonance. Let our own egos serve us and not let us serve our egos, which is a fiction. Feelings of fear and forgiveness anchors ourselves in old paradigms and prevents us from moving forward. They're stuck in a loop of their own making, creating their own reality, which doesn't help us or them. And then you mentioned that word. I don't usually swear, but I said, be unfuckable with. Okay, so shifting perceptions is sometimes impossible for some. They play the shame blame game, flip the script from old paradigms that no longer serve us, and releasing old traumas to make room for something better. Anarchy needs an army, like our friend says. We need to go through the processes to walk away from enslavement into sovereignty. Our true potential lies sleeping within. I shouldn't yell, but I've yelled this before. Wake up from the land of Nod that many of us don't even know we're in. By forgiving yourself and the traumas of your experience and those that cause them, you can learn to love yourself again through practice and live once again your life, your best life in the present moment. Time is spontaneous. There is no time or space. Walk your Tao, like our friend Denny said. Nebulous. Love that word, Jen. That was the last time.
Yeah, nebulous. It's just sort of like I think it means vague, a bit vague. But I think that's okay. But yeah, it just this whole thing it sort of it staggered me how everything has sort of come together in one place. It's like everything to do with sovereignty and freedom and self-love, and I think it's all connected to this, like this experience of, stepping out of the selfhood thing and then into this oneness. And then once you get over yourself, literally, you're in like a completely different experience. It's a portal. But yeah, it's lots of things all coming together at the same time. Self-love, I think trauma work, sovereignty, freedom, everything. I think it's ultimately where everyone's going.
Yeah, it's all part of the same parcel, Jen. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, thanks, Kevin.
Oh, my pleasure. I got, at first, when you said awakening from the awakening, I thought, what the heck is she talking about? But now I know, because it's coming to the singularity within, which connects with all that is. And we don't even know how to get there. So, yeah, that's where we are right now. Few of us know, but not enough. Maybe 1% or 2%. That's it.
Yeah, I think awakening from the awakening is when you think you're awakening when you're listening to lots of concepts and understanding, other people's perspectives, and you think that's awakening, and then you realize, oh, I've just been like kind of sourcing things from outside of me, thinking that I was connecting with myself, which you were, like, to some degree. But then when you stop seeking something outside of yourself because you realize that the answers weren't out there, you never kind of got to what you were looking for. You kept looking, you kept looking, you kept looking, and you found out lots of treasure. But like ultimately, I think a lot of people reach a point where they don't actually find what they're looking for, and it's because they were looking for themselves. So yeah, that's what I think awakening from the awakening is. That's what I was meaning by it anyway. Yeah.
I know a couple of divine feminines, okay? They're angels in my mind, but both of them, they're holding on to these things, traumas from the past. One doesn't feel worthy. That's my one friend. The other one, what I just found out about last night, she's holding on to unforgiveness, even though she's an enlightened being, like an angel. That one thing, unforgiveness, is holding her back from moving forward. And even though she's protected 24/7, she's not dealing with that trauma within that's anchoring her in a paradigm of her own creation, which is not good for her, and she doesn't know how to get out. Now the Queen Romana is gone, someone she believed in, she's starting to question herself, just like both of them. They both believed in her, and they're in trauma. They're in chaos right now, both of them. I'm sure they are, because, I know. But because of unforgiveness, puts them into turmoil, trauma, dissonance, and they can't recover from it unless they release those traumas, which they refuse to do. So they're stuck, and I can't help them. So I walk away. I don't want to walk away, but I have to sometimes.
Yeah, that's hard, Kevin, because it's so hard. It's so true what you're saying as well. Like forgiveness is so important, but I think it's something that is sort of comes organically over time, and it comes as a result of healing. It comes when you stop thinking that you need to do it. Do you know what I mean? I think sometimes people will say, "Oh, I've forgiven him," or "I've forgiven her," or whatever. But they think they have. Do you know what I mean? But maybe they haven't. I think it just comes along, forgiveness, at the point of readiness. I think it's hard to sort of get someone to forgive somebody for something. Like, I don't know, it's a really tricky one. Yeah,
You
because
can't.
I
You can't.
felt like I'd forgiven people, but before I had actually done it. Do you know what I mean? I think once you've moved on and then you're not thinking about it anymore, you realize, oh, I have actually forgiven them now, but you didn't go directly towards it. It just came about at the right time. Yeah. But it's frustrating for you if you're trying to help somebody and you can see how stuck they are.
I see it all the time, Jen. I try to help men, and they can't release the anchor.
Mm. Yeah, I know how it feels as well to have that resentment, and it is really a really difficult process. It really is. think it's probably what a lot of people are looking at right now as well, because it's quite a big blocker, isn't it? The universe is going to be flagging that up to probably quite a few people.
Yeah, there's lots of torsion right now between the old and the new. So we have one foot in the old and the new, and there's all this torsion. And nobody even realizes there's this torsion. We see it, but all the ones that don't see it, they're thinking, what's going on? Why am I so, why is there chaos all around me? Why is there chaos within? Because I don't know. I don't know. I don't know, Kevin. I don't know. What's going on? I don't feel worthy. Just on and on, even though this woman is a divine feminine, she doesn't even know.
Yeah, I think that I don't know experience is it is actually like an emotion. I think it's an emotion. Like most people wouldn't call it an emotional word, but I think it is. It's confusion, isn't it, or indecisiveness. But I think it's actually quite a healthy place to be. I don't know. If you can let it be there without sort of resisting it, it becomes something else. Do you know what I mean? Like anger, if you sort of allow anger to be there because you've got good reason to have it, if you let the anger be there, then underneath there's sadness. I think with that, I don't know, sort of energy, confusion and all of that. I think if you just let yourself not know or encourage them to let themselves not know, and it's okay to be confused, let it be there. And then underneath that, once that's processed, they'll probably land somewhere clarity or illumination of some sort that they didn't have before. But it's a really unpleasant feeling not knowing. It's so unpleasant, like that, sort of it's kind of untethered, isn't it? I'm untethered. I haven't got an anchor. I'm not grounded, It's unsafe. Like the nervous system likes familiarity, doesn't it? But if you don't know something, it's just unpleasant. But if people can sort of see that it's actually quite a healthy place to be, it's massive potential. So if you can treat that emotional experience of not knowing with kindness and patience, it can turn into something really big and productive and much more grounding. But yeah, it takes patience and it's kind of scary as well. So there's other emotions stuck to that as well. I think the key is to just always let the emotional experiences flow, even if it feels like it's difficult. It's better to let it flow than not. But yeah, good luck, Kevin, with supporting these people around you. It is very frustrating when
I'll never stop.
people
But
can't.
you said something about familiarity, and it came to me, breeds contempt.
Yeah, sometimes.
I face it every day.
Yeah, very thought-provoking. So many things listening to yourself, Jen, and Kevin talking was popping into my head. And I will refrain because it would just turn this show into another hour. So it wouldn't be fair. But yeah, it's like what Kevin's been saying and what you've been looking at and thinking about. I can't really stress enough that, just keep evolving, keep growing. And the knowing and not knowing, once you accept that there is lots and lots of stuff you don't know, then that's the adventure of plucking away at the niblets and little bits of information, little bits of knowledge, little bits of awareness, little bits of experience that's out there, and just gather them up, keep gathering them up as you go along. Like I say, play with it in your mind, formulate, postulate, you know,
Yeah.
experiment.
That not knowing, it's kind of like it's only hard, I think, when you feel like you should know. I should
Well,
know, you know, but like when you
yeah,
let go of that, it's like, well, why should I know? And then like what, you know, what makes me think that I should know? Because it isn't me. It
yeah.
like what is the
What,
beauty of the thing going to be when it comes? Because it's not me, it's my higher power like showing me. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, well, the thing that
can I do a better job than that? Or
Well, the thing that I was going to say was that what that reminded me of when I was listening to you saying that earlier was I used to be an IT manager for a multinational corporation. And I, as an IT person, I cannot, as an individual, know absolutely everything about everything to do with IT. I have a core set of experiences, knowledge, you know, courses, degrees, whatever, to give me a foundation. But the trick is when not knowing something in the IT world is knowing where to go to get the information that I need so that I can fulfill the task or role or job that I've been given or presented with to be able to achieve a successful outcome. So I know that I don't know, but I do know where to go to know, if that makes sense.
yeah, yeah,
And sometimes you might need another individual, which might not be there to help.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But
yeah,
having accepting the fact you can't know everything, but also then accepting that you know where to go if you need to find out more, then that in and of itself is a bonus. It is a help.
yeah. And it's interesting because this whole process tunes you into your own excellence and like your own, this is who I am. Do you know what I mean? But it also tunes you into other people's as well. Like, so you start to see what people are for in terms of like, okay, this person's cars, this person's technology. You start to see people's truth, you know, around you. At the same time, you start to see your own truth. It's the reflection thing is really quite interesting. Yeah.
Yeah,
The
and the best
development
thing
of
I
our
ever did was quit it
intuition,
all.
development of our wisdom, knowledge, wisdom, it goes to wisdom. What's that? Knowledge, wisdom, hurts, and our ability to change and open up our minds to other things. That's a select group. Most of them are, no. Oh, I'm used to the old ways. I'm comfortable in my blissful ignorance. And whatever you say, I'm happy where I am. And, it might be good for you, but it's too much work.
We've got a few minutes over. If you want to do a wrap up, Jen, a few final words of wisdom, so we can stop the recording, and if you wish, we can continue on after we've stopped recording.
A few final words. Yeah, I think I'll just say, yeah, so this little journey that I've been going on with my consciousness, flipping the script from the ego self to the true self. Yeah, I think the two things that are really important that people would benefit from hearing a perspective on about suffering generally. I think suffering is coming from believing in our thoughts and resisting our emotion. So if you can research and kind of like look into how that may be applied to you, I think both of them can lead you back to yourself and to many things, truth, reality, peace, freedom. I think they're both really big, important things that can help us, if we're trying to get into this consciousness that the whole matrix is trying to distract us away from, then it makes sense to work on our resistance to emotion, because that's also going to be popping up to kind of pull us out of the direction that we're wanting to go. And we also make the emotions mean a lot of things, so there's beliefs attached to those as well. So if you can let go of resistance to emotion, that's an amazing way to get clearer and in reality. And if you stop believing you're thinking and start creating what you want to think, create thoughts that you want to believe in. I think that's the way. But yeah, thanks everyone for listening, and I'll see you next week. Lots of love.
Thank you so much for listening and watching. If you got inspired, then I would be so grateful for you clicking the like button, subscribing to the channel, commenting underneath, and sharing with someone you think it might help. And if there is something that you are personally working on, that you are finding it hard, then ask under the video. Let's start a conversation that others can also benefit from. What have you tried that's worked? What have you tried that hasn't? Self-healing is the way, and it is mainstreaming. Let's help each other. Lots of love. I look forward to seeing you here again.